Live from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 19 of the 2024 Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series. We are just 2 weeks away from knowing the 16 drivers who will fight for the Full Throttle Cup belt in 2024. And as always, happy that you're locked in, spending your Monday night with us here on RaceSpotTV. As always, our producer downstairs is Joshua Lee, and alongside Derek Watson, my name is Evan Pasoko. And Derek, there are many storylines coming into this one. Playoff bubbles, drivers looking for wins to lock themselves in, and the ongoing fight at the top of the championship between the likes of Agnew Phillip and Peter Irons. But as we race tonight here in Daytona and next week at Darlington, we are racing into what will be the final playoffs in the 13-year history of the RealSimRacing Cup Series.
Yeah, what a down, sad in some ways, maybe disappointing announcement was made this week by the admin team that this will be the last season of RSR. It's just I've sort of hopped in the last second and had a blast with it. I know that you've probably had an outpouring of support from myself and others, you know, talking about it and sharing memories and whatnot. But you know, all good things must come to an end, unfortunately, and so that's where we're going to end up here with the news that everyone gets to fight one more time to be the man. So that's the good news here, is everyone kind of gets to know they're going to go out on top. Speaking of who's on top, let's take a look at the points here. So here's your people with wins: Agnew Phillip, Peter Irons, Bradley Burke, Michael Laraya, Cody Harris, Manatzi Major, and Matt Danson are all winners. They are definitely in on points. Sam Nieto, Brandon Gass, Thomas George, Andrew Freenosh, Ross Cato, and Maverick Davis. That's 13 of the 16 Evan talked about. Currently, Soa, Austin Coop, Eric Papineau are good. Papineau holds a 37-point gap over Grant Davis. So as far as I'm concerned right now, Evan, and maybe you have a different perspective, if you're anyone from 17th through 24th, Davis, Patterson, Whitaker, Larson, Kane, on down, it's win right now is your only hope. Closing a 37-point gap within 2 races is almost undoable in my mind. It's win and in for the final RSR playoffs.
Yeah, but only 2 races left, and maybe a win is needed tonight. Is a great location to do so as we take a look high above this virtual Daytona International Speedway 2.5-mile racetrack, the home of the season opener here at RSR, and will be the final race here at Daytona in series history as well. Everybody knows that all 24 or so cars that are going to be slated to be on the grid here tonight have a chance to win this one. It could be an Agnew Phillip race win number 10. It could be somebody else's race win number 1 that shakes up those standings. Right now, qualifying taking place trackside as everybody gets slated to figure out where they will start this race. Funny enough, maybe one of the least consequential, though, Derek, qualifying sessions on the season, where we may actually see many drivers opt to not qualify or simply drop to the back quickly, depending on what they think the complexion of this race will be. These plate races are known to be wild. They're known to be messy. But I feel, and maybe hope to an extent, with car counts in the mid-20s, this race could go green and we could see some of those strategies play out.
And you know, it's funny you say, and you're right, it's inconsequential in a way, but also it's one of the most tedious, minute, difficult places to qualify, Evan, where tenths of a second, hundredths of a second will make a difference, maybe between first and 10th or first and 24th, maybe. We'll see how the grid looks, but that when you turn the wheel, when you pull down or up the track, just a hair later can really determine who does or doesn't get pole here. If you take a look at the grid on the top left of your screen right now, Brandon Gass is up front, Michael Laraya, Agnew Phillip, and look at DeAndre Kane, Grant Davis, 4th and 5th the last I looked here, but now it's changing around on me. But that just goes to show, like, how crazy qualifying can be here. We're going to see new names up front all night long.
It is going to be a fun one, no doubt, as Cato sits top of the board at the moment. A lot of drivers still headed on to their second timed lap, in which they will likely put down the fastest lap. You're going to look at nearly 0.6 of a second of pickup on average, second lap over the first lap, as these cars build momentum and build speed. And you're on board right now with the number 79 machine, Dylan Coyle, as he comes off of turn number 4 to complete his second and final time lap, 50.199 first time around, second time locked in, 53.86. Not going to jump up on the board. And as I say that aloud, Dylan, as always, is our RaceSpotTV in-race reporter. Dylan, first off, I see a really big spot on your VR goggles where we could put a nice big fat RSR logo. At least for another 12 weeks, it would serve you well. But what are you looking forward to in tonight's Daytona race? You're somebody who would love to get a race win.
Man, it would be awesome. I'll go down as a RSR race winner at a super speedway, the iRock series. So that was fun. That was a lot of fun. I'm hoping that, I'm never great qualifying on super speedways, but I do feel like I do a good job of getting up to the front and trying to work within the pack. And, I'm excited. It's, RSR has meant a lot to me as, Evan, we've been doing this together for 5 seasons now, since 2020. So it's definitely a bitter pill to swallow, but I do think it's the right time. Things end, and just because they end, it does not mean that it shouldn't have ended. We're going to miss it. It's a good thing we're missing it instead of it running through its course and saying, this is a dumb series.
So 2 thoughts here. One, Evan was out last week, so he probably doesn't know that Dylan Coyle had the RSR T-shirt on last week.
This is true. I'm gonna stand on the stream. I remember the RSR T-shirts for sale, as well as the we had I think it was the Winter Series logo T-shirts for sale back in the day with Tom Morano and company. So
I did have that. I don't know if I still have it somewhere, but it's somewhere. Maybe at Goodwill now.
My bigger takeaway. Yeah, my bigger takeaway is that Evan Pasoko has put up with Dylan Coyle for 5 seasons.
I know. Listen,
yeah, that's kind of crazy, actually.
When people say it's a thankless job, that's why.
Is that what you mean?
I'll tell you what, though. You've got a Super Bowl champs T-shirt on. If Dylan Coyle ends this season with an RSR Cup Series victory, we'll get you a race win T-shirt. We'll design it. We'll make something happen.
All right.
That'll be some extra incentive for you.
That is all the incentive that I need. I'll see you in Victory Lane and throughout the broadcast. I'm in this booth. I just hope my VR doesn't fail me, because I'm a little scared about that.
Yeah, knock on wood, cross your fingers. And we look forward to this one as we're rolling off the grid. Let's take a look at tonight's starting lineup, and it is Ross Cato on pole position. He'll bring us to the green alongside Brandon Gass in the number 2 spot. Back on row number 2, third on the grid, the 44 of Michael Araya, next to the 2 car of Sam Nieto. And row number 3, P5 on the grid, the number 1 of Peter Irons, and P6, the number 94 of Agnel Phillip.
Moving on here up into P7, the Ohio native Cody Harris next to DeAndre Kane. Rounding out row 5 is Grant Davis and Austin Coop. Austin's one of those drivers looking for a win. And then Manatzi Major and Cam Patterson round out row number 6.
Continuing on through, Andrew Friedosh gets lucky number 13 tonight. Eric Papineau alongside in 14th. P15 is James Ross. 16th will be Dominic Cow, with Steve Soa starting 17th. Jaron Weidmaster rolling from the number 18 spot.
Moving on back here by Dylan Coyle, our own in-car reporter at P19. Matt Danson next to him, P20. Matt's already locked into the playoffs. Thomas George and Bradley Burke round out row number 11. And then Braden Whitaker and Mike Maddox, 23rd and 24th.
It'll be looked at the bottom, only those bottom 5 not taking a time in the qualifying session. We'll see how they approach this one. As it has always been in the many-year history of this series, tonight's race half distance of our NASCAR Cup Series counterparts. So tonight we go racing for 80 laps and 200 miles at the World Center of Racing, with only 2 races left to go before the playoffs. Critical checkered flag is about an hour and a half away. We're happy that you're with us on RaceSpotTV. Let's go racing at Daytona. Lotto gets spit out of line. He's out of control, catches the race car. No caution, we stay green, but it's going to cost the pole sitter a ton of positions as Gas leads at the end of lap number 1.
Wow, that top line formed quickly, Evan, and that bottom line fell apart in the first lap. Look at the dominance in the top line here. Look at these leaders, 2, 3, maybe almost 4 car lengths at times ahead here. Now the bottom line's going to come together. I'm just going to move down, and now we start that magical moment where drivers need to figure out what lane they want to be in and for how long they want to be there.
Meanwhile, topside, a little bit off pace and slow as Austin Coop. He drops back. The inside has the advantage by 5 car lengths and change as Gas has settled in to the race lead position. Nieto up 2 spots to the number 2 spot. Then it's Lariah, Harris, and Phillip inside your top 5. But those lead 4 trying to get a jailbreak early in this one.
That's what you want to do. You want to get in line, and a lot of people believe, Evan, in iRacing with the format and the programs we have, the aerodynamics we have, I'm trying to say, that 4 is your magic number. I know that's not what the Schoolhouse Rock song says, but in forms of super speedway racing, 4 is that magic number to kind of pull away and have that perfect amount of pull and tug without being dragged back down. In case you were wondering, the man and the woman had a little baby, and 3, what was it, 3 is a magic number? No. Yeah, that's Schoolhouse Rock, I think.
2's a crowd, 3's a party, something like that, as that inside line is now all stacked up. The jailbreak is over with, and now we'll see as Austin Coop and company on the outside start to regain their footing. Do any of those lead 9 cars on the bottom jump up in front of them? Coop pushed by the number 10 at Cam Patterson. They are on the move. 192 miles an hour for Peter Irons on the inside line, but it's 199 on the outside. Austin Coop take it off like a rocket ship on the outside.
Now what Austin needs, hopefully, is for one of these top 4 maybe to pull up, but they need to happen now so you can get a little bit more drafting help. Whether it be Cody Harris or Lariah or someone, he needs just a little bit more drafting help to get there, or to get there sooner, I should say. But man, look at that top lane's now formed. And the key to getting a line to work here, Evan, I believe both lines are equal in how well they will work. The problem is, for some reason, a lot of people don't have the patience to make the top line work. It seems more tempting to get back down to the bottom where everything is working. But look at this. These guys are pushing as Austin Coop's now up probably side by side with P3 as of this moment.
He's been able to climb all the way back, and now let's see. Does this give the 53 machine an opportunity to go to the race lead, or are things going to stall out a little bit and we'll be locked in to some side-by-side racing? That time at the stripe, lap number 5, also in favor of Brandon Gas. He's led from the jump since the top 20 cars in this lead pack. Then Thomas George, Mike Maddox, and Braden Whitaker have dropped off to the tune of 5 seconds. They have disconnected from this lead pack.
All right, now look at this here. This is the front pack you got here. You got Coop being pushed by Cam Patterson, who has Minazzi Major behind him. So these 3 drivers need to stay in line, keep lined up, and they're going to catch up. Oh, nope, there it is. They just left Minazzi Major out to dry, Evan, and that may be something Minazzi Major writes down later to remember.
It's all about wheeling and dealing, making alliances, making friends, and to an extent, making some enemies. We'll see if some of the larger team contingents can work together to get a strategic advantage in this 80-lap race. As always, bonus points going to be paid once we get through halfway, so those will be extra points to the drivers in the top 10 at the conclusion of lap number 40. So yes, if you're 30 or 40 points back near the playoff bubble, you're likely looking at a need-to-win situation, but it is not mathematically impossible. If you could get some bonus points, get good race points, and somebody that you're chasing, if he gets none of the above, this thing is not done yet. Coop with another big push, this time from Minazzi Major. It's going to put him in front for the first time. New race leader, it's Austin Coop.
Yeah, and he got a magnificent bump from Minazzi Major there and really helping gain that momentum. So for right now, Minazzi Major is behind Coop again, despite being left out to dry the first time. But the problem now is they're getting lined up behind Major. You got to make sure no one's going to push the pusher here. Everyone's got to be patient, or you're going to have calamity here early in this race.
There's a look off of the back of Coop. You can see to the inside beneath him. Benazzi Major had an opportunity to go to the bottom if he wanted to leave Austin Coop. He did not do so. He stays loyal topside. What does Austin Coop do, though, as those now two cars clear up top? Do they stay high or do they drop low? Coop will sidestep to the bottom line. Matt Danson follows in the 38 for a moment. Maybe half committed, middle of the road, looking at his options. Will eventually stay behind Major for the moment, draft up alongside, and go right back up top. Matt Danson did not qualify, started 20th in this race, and at lap number 9, already looking for the race lead as Coop comes up to stop that momentum.
Yeah, one of those cars you talked about. You talked about how, in a way, insignificant qualifying is, because you can end up anywhere in this race you want to be within a lap or two, it feels like. With these, especially with this next-gen model, Evan, we've seen models on iRacing before where it's felt hard to draft and it felt difficult to make a second line or to make a move. With this model we have currently, you can really make moves happen as they come close together there. My goodness. But right now, you can get anywhere you want to be in this next-gen car.
It's intense, guys. It's you really can feel the pull of the draft when you're trying to catch up to cars in front. So it's not as much of a parachute to come out of line, but it definitely helps when you're behind someone, especially if you got a few car lengths in between. It feels like you've just got speed bursts enabled.
And as we see these leaders get aggressive, Dylan, is it hard to fight the temptation of the race car almost telling you it can do more to prevent you from just going up there and going crazy? Does it take some self-restraint?
It really does. You know, I came down to the bottom just because I feel more comfortable around guys like Agnell, guys like Cody. I know that outside line is working really well. You've seen some pushes up front, get the leaders out there, but man, yes, the halfway points, that's a situation I'll worry about if I need to. You know, if I win this race, I got to be top 25 to make playoffs, right? So kind of have to go a little bit for those halfway stage points, but we're still just under 30 laps away from that even being a factor. You can get a run and move up quickly here. I don't want to risk it right now.
Brandon Gass led a lot of laps early, but he goes through the sucker hole middle lane instantly, drops out of the top 10 in the blink of an eye, and is going to give Austin Coop a continued advantage as that 53 machine leads on the outside, this time pushed by the Dyna Winemaster, who started 18th. So Derek Winemaster, Danson Major started 18th, 20th, and 11th. They're all inside of the top 4. Even Austin Coop started P10 in his own right.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this track. It's the appeal of this track, isn't it? Is that anyone can do it. In poker, we had that term, you see the chip in a chair to win a tournament. And Daytona, you sort of need 4 wheels and a steering wheel. And you can win here. We've seen numerous in real life and in sim surprise winners come out and win a race at Daytona. And that's why we all love this type of racing. But Evan, I'll point some out to you here. If we go back in the pack, you talked about how some drivers would want to hang back in the pack. Well, here we are, P21 on back. This is Thomas Jordan, Mike Maddox, Braden Whitaker. These guys have decided to lay back. They're hoping, I guess, and waiting for that first caution if it comes, and make sure they won't be part of it, because the other thing you need at Daytona is a car that can drive when the time is appropriate.
There's a good look at that 6 car as they continue to lag back. Of course, we mentioned it was just the 3 of them, so every lap's going to be slower than the lead pack. They were 5 seconds back. Now they're more than 9 seconds back. Only driver further behind them is Ross Cato, and he's on his own with no draft. That car will be caught by the race leaders and lapped shortly after he had that big slide through the grass on the front straightaway, but was able to keep it going without an incident. Only 4 cars right now on the outside line in this lead pack. Everybody else lined up on the bottom.
I'll be honest, guys, I think it's a mistake to get completely disconnected from this front pack, because if you do, and there's no cautions, you're not coming back up, you're not catching back up. And the car count, yeah, it indicates that it will be a very low incident race. Obviously, as the laps start to wind down, as points become a factor, it becomes a different deal. But at the same time, do you really want to take the risk of needing a caution in an 80-lap race where we have seen these Daytona, Talladega races, and RSR go caution-free, I'd say a pretty fair chunk of the time.
And that is the risk versus reward, Evan, right there. The risk is what Dylan said, all the what ifs. What if there is no caution? What if we get lapped? What if we can't catch up? We'll never get back to the lead, all those things. The reward is that if something does go bad, you're more than likely going to not be in that wreck. You're more than likely going to have a clean car. You're more than likely going to be able to make that move later and still have what you feel to be an opportunity to win this race. So that is literally the definition of risk versus reward. With an extra risk up on the board, though, Evan, look at this. They're not only 3 wide, they're 3 wide catching Ross Cato.
And this is going to be okay for Cato because eventually he'll get picked up by this group and stay in a lucky dog position. The bad news for Cato would be, of course, if this pack eventually catches that secondary group of 3, then he would have competition for a lucky dog spot. There's the onboard look with Ross Cato. You can see the race leaders, better space, passing him on the outside. Again, eventually the draft will pick him up. He'll be part of this lead group and solidly in the lucky dog spot should there need to be a yellow. But even though that's a positive, certainly not where your pole sitter thought he would be 16 laps into this race.
No, definitely not where he thought he'd be. And, he didn't decide to be back there. You kind of called out into that first lap. He got dumped out of the way, got a bad bump through the tri-oval, and got put where he is. So for him, this is more frustrating because unlike the others we talked about, this wasn't a choice. This was forced upon him. So he'll wait and see what he can make happen here. But here we are working another lap here. We're already at lap 17, Evan. We're cruising through this Daytona race.
Yeah, they are half race length compared to the Cup Series, but if they stay green, they are not that long on the stopwatch. And of course, although we do have a stage bonus, if you will, at those halfway bonus points, there is no yellow flag associated with that. We pay the points and keep on going. Already almost a quarter of the way through this race as Cody Harris seems pretty calm back there. One of those drivers who's riding in line on the bottom. You see the checkup as he gets close to the bumper and dancing in front of him. In no rush to kind of dive to the outside and force a pass there. I think Harris very happy with where he's running.
And some drivers have a preferred line at Daytona, Evan, and we all have our own justifications why. Some drivers love this bottom lane because their belief is that, hey, if a wreck happens, I have all that track below me to avoid it, right? And so, and I have that yellow line as a marker where my tires go. So I have all this guidance here. Some people prefer the top lane because they can make it work. They think they get a little bit better speed. They think if a wreck happens, if it sweeps to the bottom, they're clear. And so everyone has a preferred lane. And it's sort of funny, Evan. It's like having, preferred class seats in the classroom or a favorite pew at church or whatever you have. Once you're stuck somewhere in that mindset, it's hard to get a race car driver to break that habit and go to the other lane.
Again, Larai, a different story. Even though he's in a similar position as Harris on the bottom, it's a lot more aggressive and a lot more unsettling when you're up front. There is a line up top with a lot of bump drafting going on. DeAndre Kane's number 90 car, he's pushing that Sprite machine in front of him. Those unmistakable and familiar colors for Benazzi Major in his Chevrolet, who leads on the outside. Major's led 2 laps. Kane's led a lap in the last couple of trips around the racetrack as they've kind of settled in to a controlling position up on the outside line. 2 of them clear. No drop down to the bottom quite yet, though. They'll stay topside.
Yeah, we're watching the race here right now. It's just going backwards here. What do you see that Spotify logo on the back? Just looking back here to the race and kind of waiting for it to happen. Now the question becomes, who does Major really want to lead around? Does he want to stick with that top lane that got him there? Does he want to move to the bottom and control that momentum? Does he want to try maybe pull the old Dale Jr. and lead both? But no, he doesn't, because he got dumped, and here comes a new leader.
And Major in front as he tries to now fight off his old drafted partner in DeAndre Kane, who's gone to the bottom. Kane can't get the push needed from Nieto, who's led a lap already in this one, and the advantage yields to the top side already. We're looking at some of the onboard cameras that we have with all of these drivers and noticing some drivers typing, some drivers talking. Dylan, is that some strategy in terms of pit stops or bump drafting, or maybe a little bit of both?
Yeah, I think so for sure. Here's another thing. It's not necessarily a fuel race. We should have enough to make it past halfway and only need one pit stop in this race. I expect it's just going to be a fuel-only stop once that situation does come to it. Obviously, things can change depending on if there is a caution before the halfway point, but we reach around lap 40, we pit, we should be fine.
Can I just say something real quick before we move on? And it wasn't Dylan, for the record. It was someone else who we have a camera for that I can see in the background. I don't like to say this, but how in the hell do you type and draft Daytona? I can't send it.
Bounce and drive at Daytona in VR.
Well, some of us can debate you're doing neither, but let's move on.
Wow!
I was gonna say, what a humble guy.
You know what's funny? Evan loves to talk a big game on me, but he's the one who messaged me asking if I was going to be at the track at Daytona on Saturday because he wanted to see me.
And he's not there,
because I don't want to see you.
I'll be there. Josh will be there. Dylan will be there.
I wasn't invited.
It will probably rain, and I will probably be there.
Remember when he went on he was talking about how much RSR's meant to him in all those years and won't even stick around an extra day.
Nope, I'll stick around.
My
maybe if it was 6 years, then it would be important enough.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe.
Let's say I can't send. Well, I call them blue messages, Evan. Those private messages you send on iRacing. I can't send one under caution without fear of hitting someone. I'm going to spoil the back here. Cody Harris is typing under green. I don't get it.
I mean, I've done it in some street stock races, only because I know the fenders on those things are pretty tough, but it's a strategic move, right? I mean, if you don't have a large team and you're not in a Discord chat with somebody and you're trying to send a blue chat to somebody in the sim or type something out, to somebody in Discord or whatnot, you got to pick and choose when they happen, because the thing with Daytona is, it can seem like things are pretty much, for Daytona's sake, under control. But it can change so fast, and that's why these drivers have to stay on their toes, and that's why this Daytona International Speedway has the reputation and the lore that it does. Austin Coop got cycled back a little bit ago, but the guy who's led 5 laps is back up front. Big charge on the bottom. A little bit out of control that time. Got a good push from Winemaster that upset the 53 car. He's going to be drag racing with Minazzi. Look out, what a save as Winemaster nearly lost it.
Well, my first wall was you see Minazzi Major was kind of drifting up the track, and I think it was from a little bit of help from Nieto, and then it got crazy on back. But I wanted to point out part of why I think that bottom lane caught up there, Evan. I want to see if it happens again. Minazzi Major seemed a little unsure about what line he really wanted to be in, and kind of kept just drifting back and forth and killed that top lane. And that's what let some of the others get involved here. But now it's all sort of broken apart, because now it's just everyone's everywhere trying to get their run again.
Drivers chatting on the radio now. Thomas George saying he hasn't done a whole lot of saving as the lead car in that back group of 3. He is 1 lap short on his estimated fuel numbers of being able to get to the halfway point in this race. There's going to be more fuel saving and better fuel efficiency in the lead group. Here's another look off of the back of Winemaster. Very similar to how he upset the back end of Coop's car a corner before that. He was upset by the contact from behind. It was a good save. We stay green, but right after, no more than a lap after we'd said these kind of scary situations at Daytona can pop out of nowhere, we see a great example of it.
Yeah, I saw a great example. And saw a great example, by the way, of all the skill of these drivers. There are many drivers who would have not saved most of those vehicles, and we would have had a massive wreck across the front straight here. So congrats to everyone for keeping that gathered up and keeping us green here. But here comes that top lane again. 1, 2, 3 cars on top. And I believe that's DeAndre Kane in the middle. DeAndre, of course, is in a must-win scenario, Evan. So I think that's why he's being a little bit more aggressive than what we're seeing DeAndre Kane in our normal vision.
It's a twofold battle. Of course, the battle to be able to get the race win, to get yourself into the playoffs, but a second-fold battle for some. Dylan mentioned it himself included that, you'd like to get the race win, but you also need the points, so you can't go reckless regard and wreck the race car here this weekend and drop so far below a points requirement position that even if you won next week, it wouldn't matter. It is an interesting tightrope to have to walk for a lot of these drivers, as Austin Coop is now back in front of the field, and that inside line has its 4-car length advantage restored.
Yeah, look at that. Austin Coop now to the front. Now, the opposite end of that argument I'd have for you, though, if you're someone like DeAndre Kane, though, is you're probably thinking between this and Darlington, this is your shot. You have to be aggressive here because Darlington's a very technical, a very difficult track. And so if you're thinking, I don't want to find myself in a must-win at Darlington, like that sounds like just like you're climbing a mountain with nothing more like a toothbrush and a pocket knife, basically. I'd rather try and be aggressive here and get it done. That's on board DeAndre Kane right there, currently leading the outside lane. Doing a good job. He needs to get lined up a little bit better with the cars behind him. Right now they're off center. Now, not only will kill a little bit of the draft, Evan, it kills the possibility of his friends behind him giving him a push.
There's a good look on board with Kane. You can see the inside's advantage, no longer 4-car lengths. It closes up a little bit more. About 10 laps removed from paying bonus points and opening the bank on what could be just one required trip down pit road for fuel to be able to get to race distance in tonight's 80-lap and 200-mile contest. I've already seen 6 different drivers lead a lap in this race. Austin Coop has led the second most, Minotzi Major the most. They ride 1-2. They have been in control for much of this one. A lot of drivers who started up front dropping back. We mentioned the issues for Ross Cato, but Peter Irons started 5th. Agano Phillips started 6th. Even Brandon Gass, seemingly willingly, after leading the opening 6 or so laps, dropped to the rear. Not everybody wants to be up in the fray yet. There's a look on board with Agano Phillip way back P16.
And what happens sometimes for drivers like Agno Phillip or for Brandon Gass, Evan, is they treat those opening laps like a science experiment, right? Now I know what my car could do. I know how much time I need to get there. I know I need to pull out maybe 2 laps to go or a lap to go and I can make it work. Now let's fall back. Let's calm down. Let's make it smooth. I don't need to fight all night long. But now I know what I need to do to make it work. That's why I call them science experiments. It's live rounds, so to speak, that we're playing with here. So they're going to make it work here. Now, top lane's getting a little bigger now. It's 4 cars up top, but they are having a hard time here. They need a couple more drivers to pull up here and help them gain some momentum.
It's interesting because every move could be so consequential if it goes wrong, and if it doesn't, every move is so irrelevant until really we get down to lap number 78 or 79.
Yeah, I'd say that's very true, right? What will be relevant first is to find out, Evan, how many people practiced green flag pit stops? How many people are prepared to get down pit road correctly and quickly? There's a lot of time to be gained and lost on pit road here with that entrance and exit, because if you break too soon for pit road and you don't know how to get in there at the last possible second under speed limit, you'll give up a lot of time here compared to your competitors.
Couple new faces tagged in line to the back of that lead group that we haven't talked about tonight. Dylan Coyle up there, we've been chatting with. The 14 of James Ross behind him. The 75 of Steve Soa. Have not seen a lot of those names in the top 5 discussion so far this evening, but they're using the outside line to get into that conversation. Eventually, when we get close enough to start really thinking about pit stops being a lap or 2 away, these cars are going to have to get to the bottom. I don't think the bottom has been so solid that I'd be worried now about not finding an opening, but with each passing lap, that has to be a growing concern, unless you want to pit too wide, but I've seen that go wrong a time or 2.
Yeah, on my list of...
Sorry to cut you off, Derek. I can tell you guys I can probably go to around lap 44 or 45 right now based on my fuel estimates.
Now, of course, Evan, the trick to this is not only about how long you can go on your pit stops at Daytona. You kind of do that little negotiation with the people around you, right? Because the last thing you want to do at Daytona is come down by yourself. So what Dylan's going to need to start doing in a minute is figuring out the cars around him, whether it be Soa, whether it be DeAndre Kane, whether it be Cam Patterson, or others. When can they go? Because it doesn't necessarily matter just how long you can go. It's if you can get a group to go with you. If you pit by yourself here at Daytona, you're up the creek without a paddle.
And that's why it's somewhat beneficial for Cato, the fact that he has been kind of taken up by this lead pack, the fact that he will not be pitting on his own. The other interesting story, look at that group of cars coming off of the corner behind the leaders. The pace has slowed way down for these top cars. George, Maddox, and Whitaker were at 1.10 seconds behind the leaders. That gap is just now 4. Yes, it is still a lot. Yes, I think they dropped back intentionally for the start. But again, if this race goes green and you lose touch with the lead pack to stay away from the chaos, eventually you have to catch back up. Oftentimes, and it's a lot easier said than done. George at the stripe, 47.111 lap time up front. It was identical for Austin Coop, so they make up no time that last time around.
Yeah, sort of what they get in a way is a peace of mind of, with only 3 cars in line, there's not a lot of checkups for those guys, not a lot of lane changes. You're just sort of out here on a Monday night cruise, if you will, just sort of having a good time. And that lack of checkups, that lack of lane changes will help you catch the field a little bit, because in that big draft pack you see in that bottom lane, Evan, there's a lot of checkups happening, a lot of swerving, a lot of brake checks, and it does create gaps in that line, that sort of help close that gap to the cars behind them.
And Dylan, you mentioned you got a little bit more in the tank to go past 40. Or is there an incentive to go all the way so that maybe you can make that second pit stop either a little bit shorter or give yourself a little bit of extra fuel in case we need extra time?
Well, we shouldn't have to pit twice, but hold on. I just got
as we call to you, we were on board and saw that race car get a little bit out of control. Going to cost him some time there, as it was a touch from I think it was the 17 of Eric Papineau behind. And luckily you found refuge there on the bottom. But yeah, I mean, are you going to go to 44 so that pit stop doesn't have to be full length? Maybe you're a little bit quicker out of the box, or do you still fill it up all the way with fuel so that your fuel range goes beyond 80 in case we have overtime?
Well, I think it depends who you're pitting with, because the other thing you don't want to have happen is you lose the pack, right? Where you go an extra gallon and a half or so, and everybody else kind of gets in front of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's the biggest thing. If you just got to be with people going in the pits and be with them again coming out of the pits as well. So that's the biggest thing. That's the thing to think about. That's the thing to worry about. Guys, I can't believe I didn't lose that one. Getting hit like that in the corner.
We've seen a couple of those close calls tonight, and again, somehow remaining incident-free to this point. Next time by, 2 laps away from paying out bonus points at the midway, and we're going to start getting a lot more aggressive. Here comes dancing to the outside. Coop tried to block. The 38 squeezed up topside. 3 wide for the first time tonight. It's Cody Harris in the middle.
Wow, there's Harris 3 wide, and they got tight for a second. Manati Major came up, and I thought for sure had the possibility of squeezing that car in the wall, but everyone worked it out here. And now it's Austin Coop trying to figure out which line to lead. Needs to pick one here. Can't keep moving back and forth. Now decides on the bottom, and now it's going to get passed here by Danson for the lead.
So Danson up front goes back to the race lead. It'll be his second lap lead of the afternoon. Again, only points available to the top 10. It'll be 10 points for first, 1 point for 10th, and a single point difference from there into between. Everybody 11th on the back, you get nothing, and a lot of drivers going to miss out because we've got 20 of them in this lead pack. These points could be crucial when it gets down to the end, and we're looking at either points to get into the final points paying position or points required for race wins to count towards playoff eligibility. It is Coop fighting back on the bottom. He and Danson going to be nose to nose, the advantage to the outside with 1 lap to go until the halfway bonus.
Hey, by the way, that's Brandon Gass up there on the top side, second car back. Didn't we just talk about him being like 17th in line, like, I don't know, 5 minutes ago, and how he was going to play with the car and move when he needed to? Well, he decided now was the time he needed to, and he went from 17th to 3rd or 4th in about, 3 laps?
He knew when it was time to turn up the wick, and now it's time to make it happen. Pit stops in a lap or 2, but right now everybody thinking about points. Who's going to get the 10? Who's going to get the rest of them? The most aggressive racing we've seen all night long. Look at the leaders. Coop getting a little bit sideways. He'll get pushed down to the apron. Inside has to check.
Here goes
Gas under Danson. He'll get the push from Irons. Gas, your race leader at halfway. He gets the 10 bonus points, and now we'll race on. Pit stops on the horizon. George, Maddox, and Whitaker, those 3 cars who are in their own secondary group, they pitted that time.
Well, for a lot of cars who need points to lock in playoff spots, that lot of drivers just made big moves there coming to the line to help secure their points. None bigger than what Brandon Gass did. Just left some people behind that top lane, sort of killed that top lane with that momentum move, but here he is now leading. And I said pit stops are coming, so let's see how this plays out next here. I suspect putting this time by. Here they come.
Couple more takers, but it is not wholesale stops as Coop and Major are in. 2 cars not ideal, still better than just solo. Do we see one big influx?
Maybe, right? That's the question. Here's some more down on the bottom of pit. That's coming off of pit road, maybe. I'm not sure what happened there, but yeah, I suspect we'll probably see it in 2 or 3 waves. I think we'll see another wave this time, another wave the next time. I'm not a fan of pitting with the hurt. The more cars that get onto pit road and off pit road at the same time, the more likelihood you have of something going wrong. So I like the idea of pitting with just a smaller group. But let's watch this time. There comes a car in 4th place out of line. And he's almost by himself, Evan.
Yeah, it's going to be not another big number. Kane and Ross are in. Papanow as well. And to your point about the more cars, the more crazy it is. You saw it there when that Maddox and company group were leaving pit road, just the 3 of them. Maddox got sideways, trying to push it on the apron, got sideways, went into the grass, nearly had an accident. Still waiting on the top 15 cars to come down pit road. Austin Coop is the benchmark at the moment. That would be the car that would eventually cycle through to the race lead if nobody else can get in and out ahead of him. What does the 3 up front do? Here they come. Gas, Irons, Harris, but from P1, Gas on the brakes early and then maybe too late. He was getting passed by Irons, got off the brake, then maybe sped, and almost everybody else is down as well.
Yeah, here's everybody. So far, no black flags from the officials, so we'll keep an eye on that. I agree that was an awkward pit stop, and I agree 100% about, I'm not sure what happened with the brake pedal and all that. Let's watch it. It's double screen here. We'll see pit road, and then we'll see a car there on your bottom. It'll be Andrew Freenosh out here. And that's Agnew, Phillip, and others are going to pit this time. On the radio
now, only 4 cars yet to come down pit road. Do we see them all in this time? There on the bottom of your screen off the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. Old duck below the double yellow line. Can they get to pit road speed? Yes, they can. On the money at 60 miles an hour. That is officially all the cars on pit road. So now we start to look for this delta as they cycle out. Peter Irons, 5th on the leaderboard. Left of your screen is the net leader in all of this, but he's just now exiting pit road. Here comes a lot of speed for Brandon Gass and Cody Harris, but they're going to work together, tuck in line behind the 1 car, and these 3 are now looking to get to the race lead. We'll see what happens with Phillip and company. Here they go, blending off of pit road, but I think we'll see Irons cycle back through to the race lead. Let's watch the blend as we go through 1 and 2.
Yeah, you see him already getting ready to pass these cars on the bottom of the track here, down below that double yellow line that's infamous for our super speedway racing. And so right now, they're going to pull ahead here. It looks like they're going to get a run. But the question is, how many cars can line up behind them and get a run together and sort of chase these drivers down? That'll be our next question here. And we follow on. But man, that is a great, beautiful bump draft that Brandon Gass is giving to Peter Irons. If you wanted to make like a masterclass video on drafting and bump drafting, this little clip right here might go in the books as a what to do.
I got a pit road penalty, guys. Unsafe entry. 40 seconds I had to spend.
Well, there you hear it. Dylan Coyle announces his own penalty. So that'll put him, for now, Evan, out of the race, short of a caution happening. I would think that'll put Dylan probably into the end of lead lap, or maybe one lap down as this race goes on.
Frustrating.
Producer Josh Lee is scrubbing it back. Dylan, was it speed or was it missing the entry line and cone?
I guess I hit the cone.
We'll take a second look in a moment, but it's going to be putting Dylan Coyle a lap down with Alexa Cato. We watched the replay right here, and
that cone had a family.
Just by maybe half a foot, stepping his tires over the right line there. And of course, those penalties, unlike when NASCAR decides who does and who doesn't get a pit lane exit violation at Indianapolis, those penalties on the service, automatic, black and white, it's a penalty or it's not. There's no judgment call involved. So Dylan's going to be a lap down. Currently, though, ahead of Ross Cato. That puts him in the lucky dog position as they run. That's going to be another battle that we'll keep an eye on.
Yeah, something else we keep an eye on. The story is progressing. But now the story progressing is, look at this group right here that's being led right here by that red car in the front of the line. That I believe it to be Winemaster, Jaron Winemaster in the 9, and he is just going to lead this herd around, and they're going to try to run down those top 3, Evan.
3 cars, in theory, going to be harder for them to stay ahead of this other big single file line behind them, but we did see the 3-car drop back of Maddox and company gain time when the leaders were discombobulated. So the key here for the Windmaster, Danson, Hal, Lariah group is they just need to work together. If you stay working together, that higher car count should give you an upper hand.
Yeah, it definitely can, right? As long as all of you can agree to stay in line, be patient, not be swapping lanes, not be checking up, you'll definitely run down those 3. The problem sometimes is getting all those drivers to do all those things I just talked about and not want to think about themselves and their own race. So we'll wait and see how that comes together here. But you can see that gap is closing lap by lap, minute by minute, second by second. They're getting closer. And when that group gets to within 1 second of Cody Harris, then the draft kicks in, and then it's a whole new race.
And now that green flag pit cycle has gone through, I mentioned earlier that a lot of the moves felt inconsequential because this lead pack was broken up so much. These are really important laps for the likes of Winemaster and company to catch up. And is there an opportunity to fight for the race win without a yellow for the cars that are 12th on to back, right? Everybody from 4th to 11th is in that secondary pack. You can see them on screen chasing that lead breakaway 3, but way in the background there's more of them. Burke on to back, Freenosh, Major, Nieto, Kane, Ross, Soa. That is a 7-second gap. Those drivers have a much taller task in front of them.
Yeah, what they're hoping for is that when these two groups merge together, that they kind of create some chaos, that they maybe go too wide and start racing, and they create some slower racing that allows them to catch up here. But what's in my head right now is what you hinted at earlier, with some of these cars pitting right at 41, Evan, or 40. Man, what if? All the what ifs in my head. What if RSR overtime kicks in later? How many cars would be in trouble? And especially for Jaron Winemaster, as he leads this group lap by lap, he is burning more fuel as, oh my gosh, Cody Harris tried to cut him off.
Cody Harris tried to be aggressive there. Instead, he's going to be left on the bottom as they all go topside around him. Now Danson drops down. don't know if Danson really going to the bottom to help or to benefit himself, but look at the run for the 24. Grant Davis up the middle with all kinds of speed. Coyle going to go with him as it stalls out a touch. Now that Danson and Harris get linked up on the bottom.
So here's your new race now. Right now, you got 3 cars on the bottom, 4 cars on the bottom, and people always want to believe that lower line is faster. Science teaches us that the shortest distance is helpful, and the lower line will be a shorter distance. So we'll see if they can get caught up here. They're doing a pretty good job at it. Now it's almost even numbers, top to bottom.
Inside of 30 laps to go at Daytona, the lead pack is back to nearly full strength, 11 cars with the race win on the line. Bradley Burke, P12, has been faster than the leaders the last couple of times, so that secondary group now has started to close the gap just a little bit. Race leaders, top side, led by Cody Harris. Agno Phillip pushing. Can the 28 car lead his first lap of the afternoon?
Come on around here and likely will lead his first lap here because that gap he has to the bottom lane. And they're going to go ahead and lead that lap. So new leader, Cody Harris.
With that lap led, Harris, the 10th different driver who has led a lap in this Daytona race. A lot of bonus points going to be handed out, of course, in addition to those bonus points to the top 10 drivers at halfway. Everybody who leads a lap scores a single bonus point. The driver who leads the most laps in a race scores a second one. And yes, when you're talking about 44 a race win, it does not sound like a lot of points, but never say never, and we could have some tight intervals in those critical points positions come the end of the season. And this is going to be a long 27 laps now because it's almost starting to get a little bit late to make a move, drop to the back of this pack and reset. So this is going to be the most aggressive these drivers, the most defensive these drivers have been all night long. As topside, they will lap Mike Maddox. Maddox now down a lap as Dylan Coyle's in the middle of this lead pack. Derek, it means that Maddox not in lucky dog spot. He'll have to fight Coyle for that position.
No, but the good news for Maddox, now that he's been caught, Evan, Maddox is one of those drivers who pitted right at halfway. So now that he's been caught by this pack, he can hopefully get attached to the back of it, get in line, use some draft, and save some gas here, because Mike Maddox would be in danger of maybe not making it if not caught by this drafting lane. But I'm impressed right now. I'm impressed by Cody Harris and Agno Phillip. I mean, yes, they're in line, and there's a line of cars behind them, and there's a line of cars below them. But they kind of seem to be pulling them away a little bit from this line. I mean, they really have a gap there between themselves and the one car behind them. And that's not always something you commonly see in this group. You typically see it much more even and caught up. But, man, Agno Phillip and Cody Harris must trust one another to be bumping and pushing the way they are.
A lot of trust and almost out of necessity at this point. And again, with 25 laps still to go this time by, it is going to be an exhausting 20-something minutes if they have to keep this pace and this level of aggression up to be able to get to the end of a race that, knock on wood, has been without a yellow thus far. A couple of scares. It has taken some notable drivers out of contention. Cato stuck a lap down after he nearly wrecked in the opening 10 laps after he started from pole. But anybody who is playing a conservative game, anybody who is trying to outlast to the end, I think it's no holds bar at this juncture, and that second pack is still closing in. Bradley Burke, lead car in that group, is now only 2.5 seconds back after they were 8 seconds behind after the pit cycle.
And listen, there's a word you used, exhausting. I love that word because this race is exhausting, right? It doesn't look like it. It looks like you're just full throttle and you're just going for it. But unless you are Cody Harris, you're not full throttle. I guarantee you Agno Phillip is lifting at times to make sure he doesn't run over Cody Harris. B, B, this track is abrasive. It's not the smooth, even surface it looks like when we're watching from the broadcast. There's a lot of bumps, a lot of throwing the car around, a lot of corrections to make. And C, this track is so fast, Evan, that even as the slightest break of focus, if you start thinking about anything or anyone or anything happens that breaks your focus for half a second, it can be game over, just like that.
All it takes is one step wrong. And of course, our RaceSpotTV in-race reporter, Dylan Coyle, in the middle of all of this. Dylan, you're in the battle for the race lead, but not fighting for it. I think your primary objective to stay ahead of Maddox. How do you battle with another car while being in the middle of a different battle?
It's kind of weird to say, but you don't want to put anybody in a comfortable situation at this point, because you almost want to kind of force somebody to make a mistake and hope that it's not you getting involved in an incident. I mean, my only chance right now is if there's a caution. And I got to also stay in front of Maddox, who is just a couple car lengths behind, I think, in the other lane. I got to hope that these guys make a mistake. I'm not involved, because then I wouldn't even get the lucky dog. So, something like that.
And that is the challenge of the wrecks at Daytona. If you are in Dylan's spot where you are a lap down, Evan, is if you get involved in a wreck, you lose your lucky dog. So you have to make sure you're there and close enough for the lucky dog, but also far enough away to not be in the wreck that causes there to be a need for a lucky dog. So here's
the other thing. If you see someone trying to go 3 wide, you're not really going to make it easy on them. You kind of want them to squirm a little bit and maybe make a mistake. So it's a weird balance.
All kinds of mind games being played all across the track here at Daytona, Evan. When you're in the lead, whether you're maybe back in 4th place where you find Peter Irons who may be lifting to save fuel, whether you're in a spot like Dylan Coyle where you're kind of gently making it uncomfortable, hoping that you get to have that lucky dog. This is maybe the fastest game of mental chess one could ever play.
And all of this with a potential race win that could put somebody into the playoffs hanging in the balance ahead of next week's regular season finale at the Darlington Raceway. 20 laps to go. The next time by the front stretch grandstands. Danson pushed by Harris, pushed by Phillip through the very best in the series. Irons in 4th. Heavy hitters occupying the top positions. So for all this talk about Daytona could be anybody's game, Derek, it is the very best right now occupying the front.
Yeah, that's sort of the key to all this as we come around the line again. We'll see how they all line up here. So I want to take a look here and see. So right now, people who need a win that I can identify quickly, Brandon Gass came in P6, Grant Davis in P7, Weinmeister in P8. All those three right now, Cam Patterson P11 at the line. Those guys have to figure out how they're going to make a move here. They cannot wait much longer to be relevant in this race, as time is quickly ticking away.
And there's some driver chatter as well about maybe some of the pushing etiquette. Dylan, we talked about some of the communication before the pit cycle, right? Maybe trying to strategize. Is there any wheeling and dealing to be done over the radio at this point, or is everybody just kind of pushing whoever is there?
I think it's kind of everyone's pushing whoever is there, but also at the same time, at this point, who cares? You're just pushing to try and help yourself. And for me, I'm kind of pushing to help. Grant's a good buddy too, so I got a lot of friends in this field, but it's just so weird. It's just chess, and I'm not sure which playing piece I'm using.
You're not even sure if you're playing checkers right now, are you?
Man, I might be playing tic-tac-toe.
So, Dylan, I want to put you on the spot and ask you real quick here. A controversial topic at Daytona, at Talladega, is the idea of pushing through the corners. Some drivers say, hey, listen, if you can push me, I'm okay. And some drivers say, listen, risk versus reward tells me that pushing through the corners is, not enough reward and too much risk. Where do you fall on this topic?
No, I agree. It's too risky. You can get as close as possible. Just try not to bump in the corners. It's not great.
And you nearly got turned a little bit earlier from a push from behind. Was that in the corner?
I'll be honest, I immediately forgot if it was in the corner on the exit or on the
I think it was a
straightaway.
tri-oval. I didn't go back and see it. I think it was tri-oval, actually.
I
But
count that as a corner. That's a pretty
it's a
unstable
corner.
part of the racetrack that not a lot of people refer to, but getting pushed there is probably just as bad, if not worse.
Oh, worse almost, yeah.
It's not fun to get pushed anywhere that you're putting some wheel into it.
Well, that second pack that was once a fairy tale's distance away has been fully assimilated into this group, and we've got 18 cars, one magnificent pack fighting for the race win here in Daytona. Middle lane, Agnew, Phillip a little bit out of shape. He'll find some help with Jaron Windmaster, but it's going to stunt that momentum, at least for the time being. But it is the top 18 cars within 1 second of race leader right now, Austin Coop, now race leader Matt Danson, as they keep trading it off on the front row.
And look at this, the intensity's picking up, Evan, to see all the 3-wide racing, all the weird lanes being taken. We're no longer in line anymore. Now it's like everyone has a line that's a little different than the guy in front or behind you. And that could lead to some really awkward bumps and pushes that could get someone loose here. But woo, this in like the last minute has just gotten a little bit more bonkers than it's been the rest of the night.
Just waiting for the moment where it seemingly could all go wrong. These Daytona races have gone green all the way in the past. Others have ended in parking lots. What will we see here tonight in the 2024 Summer Daytona race? Austin Coop getting roughed up with those pushes from behind. It stacks up the inside line, and Bradley Burke wants to take advantage. The 19 goes to the middle. The 24 car, Davis, goes to the middle as well. He wants to go with them. Majors there, 3 wide, a couple of rows deep as that bottom lane evaporates behind Coop.
Well, now to pick up some momentum again, because now those 2 cars have moved down. They have left Manazzi Major, and we often call the sucker hole, because he is going to fall back like a rock on through that bottom, and the 2 lanes I think will come together. But now Nieto, Nieto let Major in up top here. Now, Evan, some people will say, listen, if you're Matt Danson, if you're Cody Harris, if you're, anyone up top here, Peter Irons, you've won a race. Why fight so hard for this, man? Let me tell you something. This is Daytona. This is a magical place. This is a one-of-a-kind track. There's something almost indescribable about winning here. Even in iRacing, when you can pull off a win at Daytona, whether it be a 20-lap race, an 80-lap race, a full Daytona 500, heck, even a Daytona 24, we're all such race fans. We're all such fanatics and feel so passionate about what we do. Yeah, I'll tell you, when I won my Daytona 500 this year, Evan, it's like getting, hold on. We'll come back to that. There's the wreck.
It was a matter of time, and it happens on the back straight at lap number 67 with a move to go 3 wide gone wrong, and several of the most dominant cars in the race involved. Manazzi Major, one of them, the 38 of Matt Danson as well, and it'll bring us the first yellow flag of this race.
Get ready to watch it again here on the RaceSpot replay machine. You hear Dylan Coyle announces he will be lucky dog, so he'll be back on the lead lap here. But wow, they're right. That was just cooking a little too hot. That the water was boiling. You could kind of feel it coming here. So in a moment, our RaceSpot replay machine will cue us up here and let us see what happened. There's Manazzi Major on the bottom. They go 3 wide, and no, man, maybe a couple of bad bumps during a checkup, I think, caused that to go around.
I saw like Maddox getting involved briefly. Was he involved in that?
Mike was on the inside, and then he dropped back a lot right before the incident happened. He made it through incident-free. Only because he had some sort of an issue about a half a lap before that. We see on that look there, Danson, the 38 machine, the one who is clearly the first car to go around, looked like as he went to the middle, maybe a bit of a block from Lariah. The 38 might have got into him a little bit or lifted, and that created the speed differential between Danson and Harris, who was pushing him, and Harris, the one who spun Danson. Major tagged. He went up into Lariah. Looks like Windmaster took a hit as well. So, again, there's that look of a bang-bang play.
And this is so hard for Cody Harris right now because what was he supposed to do? That all happened so fast. There's nothing he could have done except just what he did. And, luckily for him, he's going to walk away with minimal damage to that car, more than likely just some front end damage that he'll probably come down pit road and assess and see if they can get it fixed. But, in these moments, we talk a lot about RSR and how drivers can claim fault for a wreck and how the admins prefer that someone claims the wreck. But in this case, when there's like 19 moving pieces, it's hard to figure out who's at fault for what here in a moment like that.
So cars down pit road for repairs. Major, Widemaster, Danson, and Whitaker still down pit road as they work on getting some extended repairs done. And you heard him with the self-proclamation. Dylan Coyle was ahead of Ross Cato and Mike Maddox at the moment of yellow, so the 79 car gets the wave by. He will rejoin the lead lap. So, Dylan, you're back in the game as we come to the final 10 laps.
Yeah, back in the game. I'm going to try and get into the pits if I have enough time. I should have enough time right here. I'm hopeful that I do. Because if that's the case, then hey, I'll be more to the good on fuel, and I'll have fresh tires, which is not going to mean that much, but it could be the difference of, one thing and another happening. By the way, they're trying to tell me to let the 48 car by. They're 21 seconds behind me. I'm going to pit. Just make sure I get a black flag cleared. If I need one, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to break the rules. Can you go ahead and fix that for me? All
right, listen.
How that works, right? So, listen, let me ask you a question here now. The meme, in some ways, across oval racing and stock car racing is that cautions breed cautions. We've all heard it about 1,000,002 times, now 1,000,003. But all kidding aside, as you now line back up here to go green in a couple laps, where does that sit in your mind? Like, now, do you think, hey, like, this is going to get more crazy than it has been because now we're less than 10 to go? Like, how do you prepare for this, knowing that now that we're all going to line it up again, that we're all bundled together?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you just gotta go for it. There's no question, you gotta go for it now. Just picking your marks, and if you can deal with that, that'll be big. By the way, they gave me a black flag. Can you? I'm already.
Listen, officer, I know the speed limit was 25 in the school zone,
hey,
but I really had to get to McDonald's before that breakfast ended, so could you please go ahead and
when workers are present.
Oh, listen, I went 50 miles per hour in a 60 mile per hour speed limit, so, officer, I was not speeding. I don't know what your radar gun was on.
When's the last time it was calibrated, right? Isn't that what they traffic court get
Something
it appealed
like
to a parking ticket, something like that?
Something
You guys sound like it. Go ahead.
It told me I entered a closed
I want to know what I
pit.
sound like.
So you guys sound like veterans of traffic court. How many times have you guys had to go argue this in traffic court? Evan's got the whole gun calibration thing down to the where did you learn? Someone's been watching too much live PD or something, I think. I don't know.
I mean, listen, we do what we can, and we can.
Listen, I think, Dylan, you're going to be in the middle of this. Is this going to get a little bit stupid in the pack?
Yes.
Can't wait.
That's
why we watch.
It'll be more stupid if you don't clear my black flag.
Well, there you go. We'll take a look and we'll review the clean pit road entry. So doubled up. It'll be a restart with 10 laps to go. Everything is on the line for this one, Derek.
Yeah, everything for a lot of different reasons, right? I mean, there's people who need to get into the playoffs. There's people who want better spots in the playoffs. There's people who could lose their spot in the playoffs. Remember, Eric Papineau came in here, and let's see what happens.
Green flag in the air. Good jump for the outside. As Grant Davis picked the outer lane, he leads us back to the green flag. He'll drop down now in front of the number 19 to machine Bradley Burke. Burke is going to work with Davis. Now Cody Harris leads the outside. Pushed by Freenosh, 3 wide already. Here comes Brandon Gass, but he's got no help for the moment.
Well, no time wasted by Brandon Gass. He instantly pulled out, recognized he had the run, but now he doesn't. He has no help whatsoever. And now he's going to get left behind here. And the cars are moving everywhere across this track, trying to find some space here. Oof.
Side by side, opening in the middle. Does anybody go 3 wide? How aggressive are they going to be in the pushing, especially in the corners? There goes the 94. Phillip wants to go to the middle. The 14 machine of James Ross behind him, and everybody else in line seemingly going to follow. Now gas goes top side. They're going to figure it out in the middle. Meanwhile, your top 6 still just 2 by 2. Small advantage. Grant Davis on the bottom of the racetrack. He's pushed by the 19 of Burke. Those two, I suspect, would stay together, but can it be those two versus the world?
Wow, look up top here as we see lots of different moves happening. Oh, wrecking again. We're not done.
Freenosh was in the wall, and now Coop goes around. Caution number 2. Seemingly not that crazy, but up front, it was the 88 of Freenosh turned off of the nose of the 07 of Dominic Cow. He got in the wall, and then as everybody else compressed down the racetrack to avoid him, Agnell got hooked, and the 53 machine of Coop almost went up and over.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen a blowover in a next-gen car, but we came darn close that time, didn't we? Let's see the replay here and watch it. Watch the back to middle of that camera shot there. Here's Freenosh right here.
Real similar to the incident we just had prior to that. Not the subsequent wreck again. That's just 3 lanes of traffic trying to squeeze into 2 to avoid it. But how it started, Derek, exact same spot on the racetrack.
Yeah, it was like Freenosh maybe was getting pushed too hard, kind of backed out a little bit and just wasn't happy, and then everyone just kind of piled into the top lane. That's the frustrating part when you are Freenosh. You thought you were doing the right thing by getting out of line and not wrecking the car, and you were proud of yourself. I got it. I got it. I got it. I don't got it. Here's Austin Coop here. Watch this. There's nowhere to go, nothing to do. Sort of along for the ride. I mean, he did kind of clip Freenosh on the top there, but well, it's hard to tell from that camera angle, Evans. How many cars were below him? Didn't really have anywhere to go.
One of the drivers who was able to find a way through is Dylan Coyle. He avoids that one. Dylan, what'd you see?
I saw it getting a little chaotic, so I actually exiting the tri-oval, that very right before getting into the backstretch, there was a I think the 1 or some car, it's got to be the 1. Irons actually came down in front of me, and I don't know how we didn't wreck it there, but I kind of had to react, and I kind of got shuffled to the back, and I saw them starting to cross over and swap over going into 3, and I let off a little bit, and I'm happy I obviously did, because it gave me just enough time to slow it down controllably, get it down to the apron, and avoid that, but expect more of that.
So how do you control, I guess, for back a little bit, where the emotion right now? Every time we talk about a wreck, we're talking about big names and winners. Austin Coop has been wrecked out. Andrew Freenosh has been wrecked out. These are guys who don't need to win. You're still a driver looking for your win for the playoffs. As each of these names kind of crosses off the list, does that emotion get to you a little bit, saying, hey, listen, that's one more guy off the list, it puts me a little bit closer? Or do you just not think about that right now?
Nah. I don't honestly care who is in front whatsoever. For me, it's just, I'm worried about my own race. There's a lot of cars in front of me at this point. I'm going to need some decisive, reactive moves on my behalf to get forward. A little bit of luck, a lot of luck. And hopefully we can get something done. I mean, I've got my watch on, and I'm sure I'll be able to read my heart rate has been elevated probably for the last hour and a half or so, and yeah.
And I don't think it's still, though? Yeah, I don't know if you're quite safe to calm down quite yet, because it's going to ramp back up, and the question is, with how much time left on the clock? 6 to go this time by. Did the lights go out on top of the iRacing pace car up front? They do. So the restart will come with 5 laps to go. That still seems like a long way for these drivers to make it without incident, given how aggressive they got off the bat the last time.
Yeah, only 12 and a half miles. It doesn't sound like very long in stock car terms, but to ask these guys to get around 12 and a half miles without incidents is sometimes a big ask. Well, Evan, let's look at your top 5. Grant Davis, Cody Harris, Bradley Burke, Michael Laraya, Dominic Cow. Now, Hal is sort of an interesting story because he is not win and in, Evan. As far as I can tell from my mathing and taking off my socks and using my toes and pulling out the abacus, Dominic Cow cannot lock into the point requirement. So even if he wins, he kind of plays spoiler in his own little way.
Yeah, he, much like those drivers who already have race wins, and you ask what is there to gain, is very much just out for himself. His only objective is to win the race. It's that simple, and anything else is just a consequence of that. But his goal is to win this race for himself, and that is it, because the top 25 is, I think, a mathematical impossibility for Dominic Cow, who sits at more than 130 points back from that with just the 2 races left to go. So let's line them up for you. The 24 car led us to the green flag last time after he decided to restart from the outside of the front row. This time, using that same discretion, he is lined up on the bottom. It's going to put Cody Harris to the outside. That decision has the 24 lined up with the car he wants to work with, the 19 of Bradley Burke behind him. It'll be a restart with 5 laps to go at Daytona. Green flag back in the air. It's a stellar start for the inside.
Well, a stellar start for the inside, but a bit of a rough start for the outside, Evan. Look at this. Already 2, maybe 3 car lengths back on the outside. Now, they'll get it ramped up here, but when you're on the outside, there'll be a lot of pushing and shoving because drivers want to get going.
And sometimes a good start could be a bad thing if you get too far in front. Now, that bottom does have the drafting support they need. Howe is 3rd in line. He's pushing. George, 4th in line. He'll jump to the outside. And in plate racing, only these benefits can last for so long. George did go topside, pulled back down in line. The outside still needs some time to spool up. It will rapidly accelerate eventually, but for the moment, it is the inside with the big advantage coming to 4 to go.
And if you're Cody Harris on the outside, you have to be a little bit excited to think that Thomas George did pull up for a second, because you're sort of hoping he'll do it again and give you more momentum as this race counts down. Oh my goodness, big wide move from Sam Nieto, and he would not have been clear had he wanted to go to the top.
And you can see they're 2x2 from 5th on back. The outside trying to build up some momentum. Drivers at the very rear of that group desperately pleading for some drafting help. There goes the 6 of George out of line to the outside. The 2 car Sam Nieto follows. Strength in numbers on the outside. Pushing in the corner. Out of control is Thomas George. But here he comes off of turn 4.
George, one of those drivers who could use the win here to help his playoff hopes, is now hoping to lead next time by, as right now it is Grant Davis, who does need a win, by the way, to make his playoff dreams possible.
And George in front, but now Nieto crosses back to the bottom. They were working together. Now they find themselves at odds as it's 2 of them. Big contact there. Turn in front of the field. 44 car around. Kane spins. Caution. We are headed to overtime.
Wow, lots of big relevant names are being taken out in this wreck, Evan. Lots of names, and we'll see the multiple wrangles here. See, Dominic Howell was involved. I think I saw DeAndre Kane might have gotten by it clean. So we'll wait and see here how this racks up.
It all started with Burke. Let's watch it again. Look for the lead cars on the bottom again. They just kind of stack up. He gets spit out of line, and then as they come through with speed, I think that was Soa and Danson that might have had the best views in the house as the 75 and the 38 split the gap. You can see it here. Lock bumpers, turns it sideways. Laraya gets damaged. Burke gets into it. Agnell, Phillip gets a bit of the wall, avoiding that 19 car. The 1 of irons you see spinning in the foreground as well. Another incident that takes some of the big names out of it.
Wow, just another big wreck here. And Laraya, hard hit to to the inside there. You see on the bottom as Dominic Cal spinning around. It is DeAndre Kane in the back spinning around there a bit, so he'll have some little bit of damage. So this race will change once again. Watch up in the top side here. Steven Soa in front of us. Gets a bump there. And I don't know who that is we're watching, but that is an incredible...
Danson.
That's Matt Danson, who really just danced his way onto that wreck there.
Those two were in 12th and 14th position at the start-finish line and will be scored in 5th and 9th. So they gain a huge swath of points.
Wow.
That was two-parter. That was A, some good driving on Steve Soa's part. You saw the wheel, but also B, he got a heck of a push from Danson behind, and to an extent, he was a passenger. But fortunately for both of them, that push was through one of the very few openings on the outside of the racetrack, and now Steve Soa is somebody else who is in a points-paying position to race in these playoffs, but would love to get a race win, finds himself with the opportunity to make some noise in the top 5.
You know, I can't remember the time frame for this, and I'm sure one of you will remember, either you or Dylan, but that replay reminded me of what the Brad Keselowski, Team No Lift for comment from a couple years ago. Soa was just committed. I mean, there was no way he was lifting through that, and he was either going to be, not checkers or wreckers, but sort of in his own way, checkers or wreckers.
And of course, through all of that chaos, another driver who picked up a lot of spots was our in-race reporter, Dylan Coyle, who about 12 laps ago was a lap down in the 20s and is now P6. Dylan, tell us about that one and how you feeling.
Well, I want to win this race. That's how I'm feeling, and I wasn't cutting anybody some slack, on that last restart. Got a little bit of luck. Need some more luck, need some more decisiveness, some more reactive moves. I'll be starting on the outside here. I haven't really started there, I don't think, at all in this race.
Last caution, you just said, I'm going to let it happen. Like I said, is the emotion getting to you yet? If you're getting closer and closer to lead and more names are checking off the list. But now you said, I want to win this thing. So is the emotion starting to creep in now? Is it getting real?
I mean, no. Job's not done. It's not the names that keep falling off. It's nothing like that. It's just, now you're 2 laps to go. You're within striking distance, but man, it's Daytona. Anything can happen, and it usually does in a very, very brief instant. You just want to be there when the white flag falls to potentially do something to make a race-winning move. And at the end of the day, everybody who's on this lead lap, something like, what do you think? Like 20-plus cars, only one of them are going to win this race. So you hope it's true. You, and you're going to do everything you can. But they are too. So it's going to get a little bit crazier. It's going to get a little bit more hectic.
Well, Evan, everyone has their own justification of why they think they can or can't win this race in this moment. And experience matters, and I think our current race leader has that experience.
We take a look at some of the past race winners. A lot of experience on there, but you see some that jump out. The likes of Esteban Rodriguez at the season opener in 23. But how about last year's summer race in Daytona? Thomas George, winner here at Daytona. He is currently your race leader. The other interesting thing is, for a league that sees such top talent, and I will say, I don't know if streaky moments is the right way to put it, right? But you've got the Friedrich era, you've got the Phillip area, you had the Irons dominance midway through this season. No repeat winners here at Daytona over the course of the last 5 trips. That another point to show you why this racetrack is so renowned, why it is so, well, being so accessible, equally if not more so frustrating to try to win, is because anybody has a chance. Nothing is guaranteed. And maybe in true Daytona fashion, as we look for the final checkered flag in series history here at the World Center of Racing, it would be nothing but just as we head to RSR overtime. It'll be attempt number 1 of up to 3 attempts at a green-white checker finish. Thomas George looking to go back-to-back in the summer Daytona race. He's the control car with Cody Harris to his outside. Barney stands at the ready. Green flag in the air.
So the outside lane's going to have a better run here. There was a big gap in that line between Nieto and Soa. And so now we'll see if that top lane can benefit from it or if they're going to fall apart here. But right now it's Cody Harris looking for help from Dylan Coyle.
Coyle going to push Harris on the middle lane. The inside, the advantage early. No surprise there. Big run topside. Is it lane 2 or lane 3? Spinners behind. Irons goes around. It's just him, though. Caution does come out.
Thought for sure we might keep that green there for a moment, but we do not. We got one of our 3 attempts burned through. This one was not successful, Evan. And so now we'll rack him up and try it again in a moment here. So, Dylan, I'm going to ask you now. You made some progress a little bit. Got to the outside. Get to push Cody Harris. What were your thoughts about if that had stayed green? Do you think you guys had the run?
I think we definitely had something there, but I think I ended up losing one spot. I don't know if I like that or not. You know, it's back one row, but on the inside for this next restart. Not sure how I feel about that. However, it's weird, right? Like, Cody was getting pushed by me, but all the lanes in behind, it seemed like the bottom was going to have the advantage. But, hey, we re-rack it.
Well, on your screen, you just saw the wreck that happened, Evan. And listen, I understand that safety and, you know, spinning car, and I don't want to doubt it, but there's the reason why right there. It's going to be those 2 cars right there.
3. So that would have been a
right.
yellow from race control anyways. We only saw irons on those initial looks as 1 car. Because those 2 additional cars, the 07 and the 14, were involved, race control, even if iRacing didn't throw the yellow, would have stepped in anyways. And you can see it stems from Howe trying to put that car 3 wide maybe.
Yeah, you're right. At first, I thought it was just a single car, and I was a little surprised. But here's Dominic Howe involved again, unfortunately. And man, Dominic Howe went from being right in that spot, Evan, of P5, sniffing the race win, to now 2 incidents in a row here at this. Well, as we line up a second time, Evan, you know, now we got Thomas George still leading. Your top 5 here is going to be George, Nieto, Grant Davis, who needs that win, Steven Soa, Cody Harris, your top 5. Cam Patterson up in P6, and Dylan Coyle in P7. I find it fun that we have almost as equal number of cars in the top 7 or 8 that need a win versus are already locked in.
It is a intriguing balance, and the funny part about all of it is that although some have much more to lose than others, they are all going to be equally as aggressive for the win here. Some shuffling up in those second few rows. Again, the bottom lane had a big advantage on the start. We expected that. And of course, Dylan was part of that push on the middle lane, which was going to build up some speed, but they'll lose a few positions here. So the cars that were on the inside line gain spots. Soa goes from 5th inside of row 3 to 4th. That's a pickup, but it'll put him on the outside for the next restart. Dylan was P6, so he lost position on the outside, but now he'll be 7th. He'll be on the bottom. So cars on the inside moved up, cars on the outside moved back. That'll be a trend if you have those very quick caution flags. Also worth noting, James Ross claiming responsibility for that incident. He will receive an end of the longest line penalty.
Yeah, and for the first time tonight, that really, I mean, when I say matters, it's not that it doesn't matter, but with only 2 laps to go, the odds that he gets from back to front are a lot less than it was if that would have been a penalty at the start of this race. So, and that'll hurt a lot for James Ross here. But, well, 2 to go. If you're Thomas George, you're really kind of hoping they just do it 2 more times, right? You just want to get this race start clean. And, hey, if you're Thomas George, you're probably okay if they're wrecking behind you. But if you're Nieto, if you're Grant Davis, if you're Soa, or anyone else, you're saying, man, would you please stop that? Like, I'd like to, build a run here.
Some of the cars up front, Harris, Patterson, Davis, have been out there for 40 some odd laps. We assume because they pitted a little bit past the halfway point, and we've had a handful of caution flags that They should be in an okay position on fuel, but just something to note, not everybody on the same strategy in that regard. As the lights go out on top of the pace car, and we officially head into attempt number 2. Control car will be that 6 machine of Thomas George. He will choose the inside line for the restart, and he will be lined up ahead of the number 24 Davis. Top side of the racetrack, the number 2 machine of Sam Nieto, going to be pushed by the 75 of Soa. Row 3 will see Harris and Patterson. Row 4, Coyle and Danson. Row 5, Phillip and Papineau. But there are going to be 20 cars total scored on the lead lap. And despite having raced at Daytona probably hundreds of times watching races, and of course dozens of times in the booth for them here for this Full Throttle Cup Series over the years, the one thing that I learned is that you never know what's going to happen. So anybody on the lead lap still in contention for what could be a huge race win.
Yeah, right. Everyone here is eligible. Everyone here is live. Whether you're even Dominic Cowan in the back of the field in 2 incidents can somehow work his way through here and get it moving. But second attempt, as you said, 3 attempts, Evan. So this is our second of 3. We're going to attempt to get this thing. And once we get to the white flag, all bets are off.
Buckle up. We're going to do it again. Attempt number 2 of 3. For an RSR overtime finish under the lights at Daytona International Speedway. A ticket to the playoffs on the line. The right to be known as the last Daytona winner in series history hanging in the balance as well. Here we go. Pace car off and in. Thomas George in control as we look to the restart zone. Green flag in the air. 2 laps to go. Decent start, both top side and bottom.
Here they go, both going to get their engines revved up and get the lines moving. But you said great start both sides. Neither lane has an obvious advantage here. Not top lane is winding up. Sam Nieto wants the lead here from Thomas George.
Outside right there is Sam Nieto is lockstep with George as they come off of turn number 2. Third lane is a couple of rows back, led by Minazzi Major. No challenge yet. Coyle now 3 wide of the middle up front. Does he get any takers? None at the moment. Solo ride for him. Nieto going to come down to pinch. The 6 car a nose in front as they all look for the white flag. 3 wide behind the leaders.
Wow, it's chaos. It's like watching ants run around, trying to find a space to get in a line here. And now white flag, all bets are off. No more yellows. We're racing back to the checkered flag.
Outside line having some struggles, get linked up. Here comes Harris, pushed by Phillip. He'll go to the outside. George can't make a block. Advantage to the 28 car as they come off of turn 2. Phillip second in line. The 2 car, that's Nieto third. It is an outside line sprint as they will get clear of the inside. George fades outside of the top 5. Final time in turns 3 and 4. Harris leads. Phillip pushes. Nieto watches from third. Here goes Phillip to the outside. He's got the speed. Nieto gets contact behind, and it is Agnell Phillip, race winner at Daytona, sweeping the World Center of Racing in 2024.
When you talked about no repeat winners, Evan, we just got one right here as Agnell Phillip got both here in 2024 at Daytona. We see some congratulatory bumps for Agnell Phillip already. Man, lots of wrecking that last lap. Lots of it in the back of the field, so we didn't focus on it, but chaos ensued.
Yeah, there was a couple of crashes across the line. The battle for second place was a crash as the 28 machine of Harris came up, blocking Nieto. Nieto came back down to take a swipe back at him further behind them. Soa nearly got spun. That caused a wreck for fourth on the back. But let's watch for the lead. The 94 shakes up the 28, and then the 2 wants to play spoiler. I don't think he has enough time to do it anyways. There's the block by Harris that the 2 of Nieto doesn't like. He retaliates. They wreck, but there was, again, far more than just that incident. As for fourth behind them as well, they were wrecking coming to the stripe. In the end, it is a familiar sight. Agnell Phillip, 10-time race winner in 2024 and the first to sweep at Daytona in a single season.
Oh, there you go. That's just another piece of history that Agnew Phillip gets to have here for RSR on top of the, the Agnew Phillip era, all the wins, the titles, the trophies, and your first back-to-back Daytona winner.
We'll talk with your top finishers in a moment. First, we take a look at your full race results. It is an A51 Pro X Altus 1-2 as Phillip and Harris come across the line in the top spots. Nieto on the outside looking in third, but prevents the sweep as Danson ends up in fourth. Cato, Maddox 5 and 6. They both, along with Peter Irons, passed a wrecking Steve Soa to the stripe. Papadow 9th, and Davis rounds out the top 10.
Moving back into P11, you'll have Thomas George at one point was up there leading with Cam Patterson in 12th and James Ross in 13th. DeAndre Kane in 14th, Dominic Howe, Dylan Coyle in 16th, Brandon Gass, Jaron Weinmeister, Michael Laraya, and Manatzi Major round out your top 20.
And the only other cars are off of the lead lap in this one. Coop, Burke, Whitaker, and Freenosh unable to get to the scheduled distance. They will round out tonight's field of competitors through the number 24 position. What is another race win for Agnew Phillip? And again, we said it's funny how sometimes it can be an opportunity for anybody, and yet some of the very best rise to the occasion. He led only 2 laps en route to getting the job done, but Agnew Phillip is back in Daytona International Speedway victory lane. Agnew, congratulations on the win. These things always finish in exciting fashion, and you're able to go back to victory lane here for the second time this season.
Yeah, Evan, I had honestly no idea that that's how that was going to play out. I got into that wreck, I think, with like 5 to go, and was just kind of like trying to pick off spots where I could on the restarts, and then I don't know, it just kind of lined up, where on that coming to the white, me and Cody were able to get hooked up there, and it was a great day for the team. So really happy to see that, and it was an interesting race. I won't say it was my favorite race, but it was a fun, hectic finish at the end.
Coming across the line at the white flag, P6. Walk us through those last 2.5 miles.
Yeah, I mean we were basically like stuck on the bottom, and the bottom's not necessarily where you want to be, but at some point the outside just, their run just ran out, and I was right on Cody's bumper, and he was getting the draft off of Grant, and honestly, like, it wouldn't have worked for me if both of us didn't get clear Sam, but then it looks like Sam got unhooked from the guy who was pushing him, so we were able to, do that, and at that point it was kind of tried to make sure it was a 2-horse race there to the end, and that's how it worked out. Not often you get to you can script things that way, but it kind of worked out. It looks a lot more intentional than I trust me, than it was in the car as all of that was unfolding.
One more race until you will look for another RSR Cup Series championship and try to send out the Full Throttle Cup Series with a potential 3rd straight title. It'll be Darlington next week. What is your outlook for the Lady in Black?
Yeah, I will unfortunately not be able to make that race. I'm very sad because Darlington is one of my favorite tracks. Won there earlier this year. Was really hoping to back that up in the longer race. We're turning our attention to the playoffs and trying to defend the title in what is unfortunately RSR's last season. So we got some extra motivation there, and the playoff schedule this year is, I think, particularly crazy with Atlanta being in the playoffs. We essentially got 2 restrictor plate tracks like this one coming up, so it's good practice for that. We're just trying to defend, trying to go for the 3-peat, I guess, in this series, and hopefully be the last name in the championship ledger for RSR.
Well, we'll use this opportunity then to congratulate you on a strong regular season, a regular season championship in terms of the most points scored. And we will wish you the best of luck in that playoff opener. We'll catch you on September the 2nd in Atlanta.
Appreciate it, Evan. Thank you. Thank you so much for all you do for the league. And I know it was a tough decision to decide to close up shop after this year, but it's been a real privilege doing this. I'm gonna really enjoy the last 10 races I have here.
I always tell you guys, I appreciate having you on track on these Monday nights, and that rings true as well. So, Agnell, appreciate your time, and congratulations.
Thanks.
He's a race winner here at the Daytona International Speedway. The championship favorite is going to end the regular season with 10 race victories. It's his teammate who's P2 tonight, Cody Harris. I think will be happy with that fact, but that did not mean, Derek, that he took it easy on him at all. He was going for the race win. You're with P2.
Yeah, let's go ahead and catch up with Cody Harris. Cody, you know I've now done this for 3 weeks in a row. Let's do it the same way. OH.
IO.
That's right. That's for Evan Pasoko and his horrible take on his love of the Michigan Wolverines. Well, Cody, you were leading with 1 to go, and you had your teammate behind you. How confident were you that, was Agnell going to push? Did you think Agnell would go for the win? Did you think, hey, I might end up 20th? What were your thoughts?
I knew I liked being in that spot ahead of the pack. Kind of, we had that big run, and me, Agnell, and Sam kind of broke away there. But I kind of knew being out front, I was a sitting duck. There's a few things I think I would have done differently. Maybe stayed on the top and gave Agnell the bottom so I could side draft a little better, and maybe just side drafted more aggressively coming to the line. I just kind of lost where he was after I got a little loose off of 4 and was trying to regain where I was at. And then me and Sam made a little contact there, which also I wasn't going to make any difference, but slowed us down a little bit more. But yeah, overall, good race. Got 2 P2s in a row. Hopefully it can up that 1 spot here soon.
So your point of view from the car and in the driver's seat is that wasn't necessarily a block on Sam as much as just loss of control of the car, or what happened there?
Oh, when I went up towards Sam, I was trying to just side draft Agnell, and then I didn't realize Sam was as low as he was when I came up. But at the same time, I think watching, there's a black seam. He started to move down at that time as I came up, and we just kind of met in the middle there.
All right. Well, I said a couple of P2s in a row. Next week we go to Darlington. What's your outlook on Darlington?
I usually get around there pretty good. I enjoy that track. It's kind of challenging. You have to be patient with the car, and that's something that kind of fits my driving style. Take care of the tires a little bit, I imagine, especially if it's going to be hot, but I always enjoy getting around there.
Well, I'm going to ask you this question. As you know, this week the announcement came out that this is the final run of RSR in 2024. So I want to take a second and let you talk about what RSR has meant for you and how much fun you've had doing it.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun. Kind of found the league as I wrapped up my college career. As you know, I wanted to do iRacing, but when you're doing engineering and working and band stuff, I just kind of had to put that to the side for a little bit. But then, yeah, it was kind of a way for me to get back into racing more. And then met Agnell, which kind of led to having a couple good runs at the road. It didn't work out this year, but last year I made the top 70. I wasn't too far outside contender, but just need that a little bit more, and been able to meet that group of guys over there that I work with on a weekly basis to try and get better and keep doing the road to pro stuff. So it's really made a lot of cool connections.
All right. Well, listen. Well, great run tonight, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right. That is Cody Harris finishing P2, and now it is time for us to catch up with the man who finished P3 behind him, and that's going to be Sam Nieto. Now, Sam, what chaos, what calamity, whatever word you want to use there. At times, I thought you really were just going to bulldoze your way to the front.
Well, that's kind of the plan here. Sometimes just push until you can't push anymore. The high line was really fun to push on. The low line wasn't all that fun to push on. The runs on the high line kind of could sustain for a lot longer. Yeah, I mean, I had fun at the end. I don't really know what happened. I did go back and look at it, but it'll be interesting to see what happened there.
Well, I know you said you want to go back and look at it, but if you think through it in your head for a moment, is there anything different you could have done in that last lap, or do you just think P3 was sort of the
No, I just needed to push. I side drafted Thomas really well. and the outside should have taken off there. I just needed somebody connected to me and pushing me, and I should have won the race from that position, but the push just wasn't there. I don't know where Agnell came from. I think somebody said like P9 or something, but yeah, they were connected and they had momentum, so that's how they got by. But yeah, I just needed push.
So in a season where it seems like you and Cody kind of always find each other at some point, do you have a perspective on the contact between you two coming to the line, or was that just coming together, or do you think you were blocked, or what happened there?
Well, he said he was moving up to side draft Agnell, and I guess I believe him, but I mean, kind of need to have a little more situational awareness, I guess. I don't know. I'm not going to say a whole lot. Like I said, I haven't looked at it.
Fair enough.
I
Well,
believe,
next week it's... Yes, sir.
I believe that's what he was trying to do, but I was there.
Yeah. Well, next week is Darlington. It's the final race of the regular season for RSR. Do you enjoy Darlington? Is it a tough track? What's your outlook?
Love Darlington. Yeah, it is a hard track. I was talking to Agnell a few minutes ago. He and I are traditionally pretty good there, but the setup in the spring was a lot different than what the traditional Darlington setup was. It was really, really, really tight. Where traditionally Darlington's really loose, and I wasn't good at all in the spring. So if it's the same setup, I'll have to adjust to it. But yeah, I love Darlington. It's hard, and I really enjoy that track.
Fair enough. Well, we gave the others a chance to do it. I want to give you a chance to use a platform here. Of course, the announcement came out this week. This is the last run for RSR. It's our last hurrah. The curtains are closing, whatever metaphor you want to use. So take a second, talk us through how, what's RSR meant to you? How did you find it? What are your thoughts on RSR closing?
I don't remember how I found it. I was looking for a league. Trying to think back how I did find it. It was the winter series of, I'm thinking 2019 when I joined. Well, I've enjoyed my time here the entire time. This year has been a little less fun just because of numbers and a bunch of, I wouldn't say a bunch of talent left, but I mean talent did leave. But for the years prior, we were pretty stacked talent from top to bottom, and it was really fun competing against a really talented group as a whole. I really appreciate what Evan did for us, giving us a stage to race on, putting on a really good broadcast, coke level broadcast, and that's about all I've got.
All right, Sam. Well, listen. Well, great run tonight. P3 overall. We'll see you next week. Good luck at Darlington.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, that is Sam Nieto. Well, Evan, that's your top three in the interviews here. And I think I think we have the standings updated live here for the broadcast.
You've successfully talked long enough for our producer Joshua Lee to get those standings updated for us, and that is how they look after tonight's race, with a couple more drivers officially locking themselves in. I think Soa, a name added to that locked-in column, now mathematically safe. Of course, it is very likely, when we look at a likely car count in the mid to low 20s, that by the time we take the green flag, at least Papanow or Coop would lock themselves in. I say one or the other because I wouldn't really like to be either of them as the first person on the outside, because if any name on that bottom right, Davis, Patterson, Whitaker, Larson, Kane, Kaczynski, Coiler, Landry, win at Darlington, it would be the lowest runner of Papanow and Coop that would be out. That is the one possible shakeup left on the board. I do not see Grant Davis pointing his way in. It is mathematically impossible for Patterson on back to points their way in either. So that is the stage. And we look to the venue, as it is Darlington Raceway. It is not the craziness of a Daytona regular season finale, but it is a track that is equally as challenging, and with Agnell not in attendance, could open up the door for the likes of a Harris or somebody else.
Yeah, who knows what will happen 1 week from tonight, the final regular season race. And Evan, I want to take a second and say thank you as well. I know we're not done. We got so many races left to go, but RSR is a blast. It's something that you've put a lot of love and effort and time into, and it shows. And I've had a blast working with you. I'm looking to finishing out the season with you. But just know from this past week, all the love and support that people have for you because of your work.
I saw the paint scheme on the number 24 machine of Grant Davis. Got the RSR logo on it, and Dylan didn't win the race, so I guess we're not doing a T-shirt line. But we'll do some fun stuff, I think, over the course of these next 11 weeks and give this series, which kind of fell into my lap at one point nearly half a decade ago, if not more, but started with a lot of really good folks way back in 2013, well before I was broadcasting and league organizing. So looking forward to doing some fun things over the course of these next 11 weeks. And I think most importantly, the best RSR send-off is a Valiant championship effort, because the word that a lot of the drivers said to you post-race that they've always said over the series history is competitiveness. And this is where top talent has come before they've become Pro Series drivers or Coke Series drivers, or even during and after. RSR has had some of the very best, and I hope that the 2024 Full Throttle Cup is earned just as hard as all of those other ones before it. That'll do it for us, though, here tonight in Daytona as we look to close the regular season the next time out. On behalf of our entire team at RaceSpotTV, RealSimRacing, and for your broadcast team tonight, for our producer downstairs, Joshua Lee, for Derek Watson and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Agnel Phillip, who has hit double digits, 10-time race winner in 2024. We're back in 1 week time for the regular season finale. That's Monday, August 26th at iRacing's virtual Darlington Raceway. That race and every race of the 2024 Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series can be found exclusively right here on RaceSpot TV. Till next time, good night from Daytona.